Hello and welcome to part 13 of this exclusive video tutorial series from BlenderCookie.com on modeling the M4 assault rifle. My name is Jonathan Williamson and we are finally starting to near in to the end. We've been working on this for 12 previous videos and approximately, 10 to 12 hours actually so far in modeling time. And we are getting really close to finishing this. But we've got a couple things to fix. One, you may notice that we have a hole in the back of the stock, which obviously we don't want. So we've got to fix that. We've got to add in the shell ejection area. And then we've got a few details on the backside here. And then also what I believe is referred to as the charging pin right back in here, or charging lever. Excuse me. So we've got those to do, but one thing that I want to point out real quick is you'll notice that I'm running a little bit slow, and this is because I'm working on my laptop right now, which, as most laptops is not quite as powerful as my desktop machine. And so something that I'm going to do before we get started on the modeling process is that I'm going to go ahead and use the simplify option. Currently, nearly all of my meshes have a subsurf modifier on at level 2 or so. And this is all fine and dandy, except that this can, with this high poly count of a model, send my memory usage a little over the top for my laptop's capability. I apologize, I do have a little bit of a cold right now. But the simplify option, which can be found in the scene settings, is really cool and helps us work around that and not have to go in and just change each modifier individually to tone them down. Instead, what I can do is just enable this simplify option. And what that'll do is apply this number of subdivisions to anything that's using a subsurf or multi-resolution modifier. And this will include in the viewport and at render time. However, I don't actually want to enable this just yet, because if I were to enable it, it would just jump all of my subdivisions up to level 6. But instead, I can go ahead and, even though this is grayed out, I can just tone this down to, say, 1, and then enable it, and you should immediately notice all of these go down to 1 level, and I'm running a little bit smoother here. I don't know how much you can notice in the recording and such, but it's definitely a little bit smoother on my end. Now, if I were also doing some rendering, I could work with the child particles, the shadow samples, AO, and SSS, and skip quads to triangles if I wanted to do that. But for the time being, the subsurf is the only thing that I really want to worry about. So what I'm going to focus on today is two things. I'm first going to patch the hole here in the back of the stock, just because that's been bugging me, and then I'm going to work on the shell ejection area to try and finish that off. And then we may be able to get to some of the other details, but I think by the time we're done with that, we'll be just about done for the day. We're at our time limit, and so then we'll follow this up with one more section to complete our entire M4. So first, on the hole in the stock, let's just select the stock, hit tab to go into edit mode. And we're just going to patch this up fairly quick and easy. Main thing I'm going to do is I'm first just going to select these vertices, say here and here. I'm going to hit F to fill that face. And then basically, I'm just going to add in a bunch of edge loops to then connect to all of these. So let's just hit Control R, scroll this up, and that actually looks about right. So then I'll just left click, and then I'll just start filling in some faces. So I'll fill that one. Let's maybe go ahead and actually start at the bottom, maybe give us a better idea of where we stand. So I'll just fill in all these. And since this is a perfectly flat surface, it really doesn't need to be perfectly even. And even though it might be good to even things out a little bit, I'm basically just going to leave it as is to just be done with it quick. And I guessed right, it would seem, because that then just filled in completely even with all quads. And so that's it. That's all I'm going to do for that. I can now go ahead and move on. You will notice that we have a little bit of distortion right there, but actually, you know what we could do is let's go ahead and select these. Let's hit Control E and edge slide, and we're just going to slide that up to about right there. I think we'll even that out just enough. I can also move this back along the y-axis, kind of even those out just a little bit. And actually, you know what? That looks even worse now. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and let's just select all these. And I'm going to select this vertex, hit Shift S, cursor to selected. Then I'm going to select all these. I'm going to hit S, Y, and 0. And then let's go, oops, and I was supposed to scale towards the cursor, so I'll hit period, and then S, Y, and 0. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select, say, these vertices. I'm going to hit X, delete these vertices. And let's also go ahead and hit Control Tab, go into face mode. We're going to select all of these surface faces that you see right here. Just something about like that. I can use my lasso select with Control, left click and drag to select all those. And I'm going to hit E to extrude, right click, then hit G and Y, pull them in along the Y-axis, maybe scale them along the Y-axis a little bit to even it out, pull it in a little bit further. I'll hit comma so I'm scaling towards the individual center. Then I'm going to deselect all these top faces, so then I can just work with these. I'm going to just pull these up along the Z-axis a little bit. Maybe hit Control Tab, go to vertex mode. And due to having auto merge editing on, I messed that up just a little bit, so I'm just going to undo a bit. I'm going to hit S, Y, scale it in along the Y-axis, pull it in along the Y-axis a bit. I'll zoom back up to the top, see how it's looking. And let's maybe scale along the Y-axis a little bit more, just so that these edges are approximately even. And I can deselect all of these upper faces, and I'll pull this up along the Z-axis just a little bit. Then I can deselect this face, pull this one up a little bit more. And now I can go up here, maybe hit Control Tab, go into edge mode, and now I can just fill these edges one by one like that. And like, oops, looks like I actually have an extra face in here. So let's hit Control Tab, go back to face mode, just select it like that, hit X, delete that face. See, we got one right there too, so we'll delete that. Now we can go back to vertex mode, hit F, fill that face. Maybe hit Control Shift Tab to switch into vertex snap. Take this one down along the Z-axis. Same thing there, and maybe even there. And that will just kind of even things out a little bit. I don't really need to worry about these ones too much, but I might move them down just a little, just to kind of average it out. Partially just because I'm nitpicky. There we go. Okay, I think that'll be good enough for now. So now you'll notice that since we added in a full perimeter face loop, which what I'm talking about is this face loop selected here, where before we actually only had one through to here, and then it kind of turned in, which is why we were getting that artifact that you were seeing earlier. Now that we have the entire face loop, you'll notice that we don't have any artifacts whatsoever. Okay, now I'll just save my file, and I'm going to go ahead and jump forward to work on the ejection area. And if we pull up a couple of those references that were provided to us from the generous user, his name was Chris, I believe, we can see a couple things that we want to do. First off, you'll notice that directly above the brass ejector, we have this kind of plane that follows the same ejection form. And then we also have a tab connected to this protrusion here, right here. We have a small tab right here, and then of course the flap itself that everything's connected to. So the first thing that I want to do is to create this plane that you see right in here. So it starts right with the edge of this, goes up, goes across, etc. So that's what I want to form first, and it should be created such that it's even with this plate, and so I need to come down to right about here with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this mesh, hit tab to go, or Control Tab to go into vertex mode, and the bottom of the ejection plate is right about there. So we're going to have the plane start right in here. Let me hit N to bring up my panel here, my properties. I just want to disable underneath the mesh display category, the edge length. There we go. And so I'm going to select, say, these vertices, although I need to add in some more edge loops, because what I want to do is basically extrude a plane that then fills this surface right here for basically here to here. And so I first need to add in, say, another edge loop across here. I'll add one right up to that. And then I'll add a second one right up to that side. Because we may or may not actually merge these together, but they at least need to fit approximately together. And then what I want to do is we're going to start the extrusion right here, since this is flat. And we're going to grab, say, these vertices to these vertices and these vertices. And now let's just go ahead. And what I want to do is this, if we look at this, this looks to be at, I don't know, like a 15-degree angle from straight up. So something like like that maybe. Although really what it needs to do is just go straight up to this side. So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to add in another edge loop right along here, which should go the full length. And then I'm just going to move it into place to right about there where I can see that the top of that plane is. And then I'm going to go in here, select, say, these vertices, the same ones that I had before, hit Control-Shift-Tab, make sure I'm in vertex snap mode. I'm going to hit E to extrude, take it down, and let's just snap right to that vertex. And that should create a, let's go and hit object, go into object mode and hit Shift-H just to isolate everything else. And you should notice we now have basically a perfect plane between those. Now, it's not quite perfect because it's going through this. So let's take another look at our references, and we can see that this actually comes out a little bit on this side. And so it actually ought to snap up to perhaps that one, and it would continue extruding along that plane out to about right here. And so what I want to do now is let's hit Control Space to enable our manipulator, and you'll notice that we're in normal mode currently, but our angle appears to be a little bit off. So let's hit Control Tab, go into face mode, select, say, this face, and then I'm going to copy this manipulator. So just go ahead, and I believe it's Control Alt Shift Space. No, Control Alt Space creates a new one. You'll notice it's automatically changed to that. And I can now just go in here, grab this vertex loop, and I'm just going to hit E to extrude, right click, and then hit G and double tap X to slide this down. And I want to go all the way down to right about there. Okay, and that just brings that out perfectly. And now I can go ahead, and maybe I'll go ahead and take it in a little bit more just to snap. So it's basically even with these vertices right back here. And we can see that that's probably going to be about what I want right in here, because it looks to me like this comes down to about here and then just goes straight down to merge with the top of this. And actually, you know what? It looks like this ought to not come out any further than this. So let's take it back up along that axis to about right there. Okay, I'll hit E to extrude and then Z to pull it down. And we can see that we just about got it perfect, and I think that'll probably be perfect enough. So that actually looks good right in there. Okay, and let's see. What I want to do now is to go ahead, select these loops, and that one there, and these ones. And I'm going to go ahead and hit H to hide those. Or actually, you know what? I don't want to hide those. Instead, I'm just going to hide this central one so that I can kind of see it. And I'm going to go in here, select all of these faces all the way up to right here where I'm extruding that loop from, and all the way down. So first I'll just select these. I'll hit X, delete those faces. Then I'm going to go ahead and select this, and I'll hit H to hide that. Then I want to select all of these faces all the way down to here. And in fact, I want these bottom ones as well. And I want to delete them. So I'll select all those, and I'm going to hit X and delete faces. It actually looks like we've got a problem with our mesh right in there that we need to fix at some point, but I will resolve that here in a little bit. I'm now going to hit Alt H, and what I want to do is grab this, hit G, Z, snap to right there, hit E to extrude, snap to right there, select everything, W, and remove doubles. Okay, and let's go ahead and fix that. So if we add in another loop, we can slide this. Oh, seems we have Control Tab, go into face mode. Let's make sure we get rid of any of these faces that we have in here. Let's go and select this. Let's hit Shift H to isolate it. I want to zoom right in here, and we've got a face right there. and a face right there. You can see that they're kind of in the center of the edge. So we'll just hit X, delete those faces. You can go to vertex mode and see what's going on. So what we need to do now, make sure we don't have the same thing over here, which we don't. So let's see, if I add in a loop, it's going to go all the way around, which I really don't want to do. So let's go ahead and I'm going to select these. Or I guess it's just this actually. I'm just going to pull it back along the x-axis for the time being, just so we can kind of see where the issue's at. You know, we need to fill in those. But for the time being, actually, you know what I'll do is I'm going to undo that. I'm going to add in a new loop right up to here. And I'm going to select these two vertices, hit X, and delete them so that we can resolve that here in just a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and just fill in these areas. I'll add in an edge loop, hit GZ, snap down to that vertex, add in another one, snap to that vertex. I'm snapping along the Z axis, and then I'll add in another one, snap to there. Then I'm just going to select these vertices, hit E to extrude, snap to there, and I'll go over to the other side, and I'm going to select them here, and I'll hit E to extrude, snap to there. You can see we also need to remove this interior loop that we've got in here. So I'll hit X and delete those edges, and then I can go in, reselect the vertices. And the reason that I did that was because if I were to delete the vertices, you notice it would have messed up my vertex right up here. So I'm doing it manually, hit X, delete these vertices. There we go. I can select everything, W, and remove doubles. That will resolve that right in there, and those back there. I need to go up here. Let's delete these vertices, hit X, delete those. And then that looks okay. Let's go ahead and add in the loop right here. And then I'm going to hit E to select this vertex, hit E to extrude, take it in along the y-axis, and then I will fill in a face right there. And this then will allow me to go ahead and say add in a loop right up to here. I'll take these vertices, E to extrude, snap to right there, select these, fill in a face right there. And then I may just, I think I'll just fill that like that. I can maybe take this up along the z-axis, maybe along the y a little bit, just bring it up there a little, even that out. Or actually, you know what? No, that really just makes a mess. Let's see, if I take these, I think I might take this along the y-axis, then I'll select these, fill a face right there, select everything, W, remove doubles, then I can fill in a face right there. And you notice that this gets a bit messy, but what I'll do is just add in an edge loop, slide it right up to there, then you'll basically never know. Now, this is kind of bugging me, so let's first just see where that edge loop's going. I can see it's going back there. So let's go ahead and deselect this side. I'm going to hit Control E, edge slide, bring that up to right about there. I'll maybe go ahead and select this vertex, GZ, pull it down to kind of even this out. Then I can go ahead and hit Control Tab, go to face mode. I'm going to select that face, hit X and delete. I'll select this one as well, and seems that one as well. And then I can go in here, fill in a face like this, make that a lot more even. And I could go ahead, fill that, and then maybe add in another edge loop right there. Fill that. And I just have a single triangle here that I don't really want, but I could resolve. Well, let's kind of wait and see where this goes. First, let's go ahead and actually, you know what? I'm probably just going to leave a triangle right there and a triangle right here, because it's really not going to do a lot of harm just in these moments, just because they're very small and also because they're very isolated. So let's leave them for the time being. We might fix them here in a little bit, but I do want to go ahead and add in another edge loop right up along here. Then I'll select, say, this edge, extrude out to right there, which then allows me to connect this, select everything, W, remove doubles. And that starts to look pretty good. What I'll do too is I'm going to select all these faces and I'll just slide or duplicate them over to here. As soon as I fill in this one complete side, let's go ahead and add in a loop right to there. Then I can select these, fill that. I will add in another one right there. I do apologize if there happens to be any background music or background noise. I am in a hotel room and seems some of my neighbors like to be a little bit noisy. Okay, and then I will fill this, and I'm going to go ahead and use one more triangle there. I know that I'm almost always completely against them, but in this case, it does actually work pretty well, and since we're doing a hard surface model, we can get away with it a little bit more. I don't necessarily encourage it, but in a time like this, where this surface is basically even, which causes some, a kind of a topology nightmare, then it can kind of help balance this out. So let's leave it for the time being. And what I'm going to do is let's just select all of these faces. So I'm just selecting all the boundary edge loops, basically. I'll go down here, select all these, select all those, and then I want to select these in here, deselect those. I'm going to hit Shift D, move them along the x-axis over like this, and then we should be able to just snap that right to there, and almost everything, not everything, but almost everything should line up pretty well. So I can now select everything, W, remove doubles. Notice I'm getting some messed up normals, so I'll hit Control N, and then I think the main area is this here, hit Control E, edge slide right up like this. I can then hit GZ, just snap right there, select everything, W, and remove doubles, and there we go. Perfect duplicate. Okay. That's unfortunate. I forgot to apply my mirror modifier. So let's do this before we do anything else. Let's go in here and apply our mirror modifier. Then we'll hit Tab to go into edit mode, hit 3 to go to side view. And what I want to do, we're going to hit Control, or if we rotate around and then hold down Alt, we can lock our view to a specific view. So in this case, I'm switching over to the back view. And what I want to do is just go ahead and select, say, all of these vertices here, which should select almost everything except nothing on the back side. Since I've got this option enabled, limited selection of visible, I'll deselect any stray vertices that I got. I'll select all these in here. And basically what I'm going to do, I'll deselect any that are actually on the bottom surface. I only want these in here, basically the ones creating the form that I just spent a while modeling. Because what I want to do is just remove this whole section from the opposite side such that I can then just extend this along. So that looks good. And as soon as I get rid of that vertex, that all looks good. Now I'll just hit X, delete faces, which should clear that out basically perfectly. Let's real quick go over to our references and find a view from the opposite side, which we can see right here. And we can see that we do still need this piece coming down. So let's go back over here. And what I'm going to do, let's first Alt-right click to select this edge loop, and then we'll deselect these vertices, all these vertices, and all of those vertices. Now I'm just going to extrude this while holding down Control several times, snapping to each next vertex. There we go. Okay. And then I'll go ahead and select everything. W, remove doubles. And then I want to go in here. I'm going to select all of these loops. No. In fact, I want to go ahead and I'm going to select this edge loop, and I'm going to hit H to hide it. Then I can go in here, select all of these, and then just hit X, delete vertices. Because now I can go and hit Alt H to reveal everything. And I want to select, I only want to reveal this. And then we're going to go in And let's see, that's supposed to come up to right there. So this is actually a little too wide at the moment. Let's go ahead and select all this. Let's go and actually hit Alt-H to reveal this. And I can actually see that this is too wide, but we're far enough along that I'm not going to worry about it. But I want to basically just select, get rid of that. We'll isolate this again. And actually, you know what? Let's not worry about this side for now. Let's just keep our focus over here. So what I want to do is to add in the actual ejection part. So what I need to do is I need to basically get a trace of faces right through here that I can then delete to get my rounded profile. So it's going to start from basically right here, then it'll start right over here and right over here. So I can first just remove this edge loop, but then I'm actually going to add in a couple more because I want this rounded surface. So before I do that though, let's go ahead and just select the faces that we want. Say these, and we can see that we can look over to not this one, but this one, and we can see this is basically just a hole in here that we want to remove. And in Blender, this hole should start right about here, so we're going to deselect that, and we can see about how that'll look. So let's just go ahead and hit X and delete edge loops. Now what we need to do is just add in several loops. So we'll first add one in here. We'll add one in along the bottom. Then we'll select both these. And actually, you know what? Rather than doing one at a time, let's add in two. So we'll do two here, and two on the bottom, since these aren't technically connected anymore. Then we'll select these, hit S, excuse me, X, and slide that over until we get a fairly nice rounded outline. That looks fairly good. But now what we need to do is grab these corners. And in fact, we could actually grab the entire edge loops. About like that. We're going to hit G or S and X, scale them along, something like that. And then we could go ahead and add in another edge loop on each side here, which we then hit S, X, and 0 to straighten up. And that will keep everything nice and sharp. Now this side actually already has two, so we don't need to worry about it there. Now, the one thing that you'll notice currently is that it's a little bit uneven due to these edge loops being unevenly spaced. So let's select this, hit Control E, excuse me, edge slide, and pull that up. Select this vertex now, hit G, X, snap over to there, and then I'll do the same thing on the other side. And in this case, I'm going to hit 3 to go to side view, then I'll hit Control E, edge slide, bring it up until it's basically even, just to ensure that things are symmetrical. And there we go. Now I've got a nice hole in my mesh that I could then go ahead and select it. And I'm going to hit Control Space to enable my manipulator, which is still set to the face mode. And I'm going to hit E to extrude, double tap Z, take it in just a smidge, and then do that again, something like that. Okay. And there we go. That gives me a nice ejection port. So I can now actually go ahead and create that same port from this. But what I want to do is I'm going to select the two outer edge loops, or this one, and then this outer one. If I can get it all selected here. There we go. And I'm going to go and hit Shift D, right click, G, double tap Z, take it out just a little bit. And then I'm going to zoom in real close here, deselect this loop, and then I'll hit G, double tap Z, take it out a little bit more. And then what I want to do is go ahead and fill in faces. So let's first take, let's hit Control Space to disable the manipulator momentarily. Let's go ahead and select this and hit Shift H to isolate it. And then let's just say select these vertices, hit F to fill a face, select these ones, and we're just going to, fill in the cover. Okay. Then I could go ahead and add in, we want to create these insets in it, which are actually, they're just punched metal, and so there'll be an indent on the bottom side and the opposite of that, basically a ridge on the top side. So first I need to go ahead and fill in the bottom side as well as the top side. So just selecting all this, I can fill these in one at a time. Okay, and make sure, hit Alt-H. Right now I feel like it's a little, well, actually, you know what? This is pretty thin, so we're not going to make it much thicker. I want to, before going any further on this, I want to go ahead and make it square. So I'm going to hit Shift-H to isolate it again. And then let's grab these vertices. We'll hit Control-Space to enable the manipulator again. We're going to hit G, double tap X, snap down to there. And then same thing on here, just like that. We can add it, or let's select this now. And we're just going to extrude it along its normals, about like that. Hit 3 to go to side view, make sure it's correct, which it is. And then this is where the circle or the circular part for the rotation will come in. We'll maybe just extrude this once more just to make sure it's nice and square. Looks pretty good. We could add in another edge loop right up here, maybe about like that. Make sure it's also nice and square. Looks pretty good. Although I might select it and then deselect all the center parts and then hit G, double tap X to move this along the normals here, just to make sure that that's nice and rounded, or excuse me, evenly spaced, as opposed to these up here. Okay, looks pretty good. Let's maybe go ahead, and you'll notice that we've got these ridges, so let's work on forming those now. And basically what I want to do is we're going to add in an edge loop all the way up to the top here, and then we're going to hit G, double tap X, slide it down just a little bit. And basically, we're going to add in perimeter loops in the same shape as the top here. That's why I'm taking them all the way up in the same shape as these. And so now I can go ahead and I'll add in, say, 2 edge loops here, slide them in a little bit, 2 edge loops here, slide them out a little bit, about like that. And then we've got the ridges right here, so let's add in, say, an edge loop there. Actually, you know what? We'll do one here, leave it in the center, one there, leave it in the center, select both, slide them in along the x-axis to about right there. Because now, what I can do is I'm going to select, hit Control-Tab, go into face mode, and I'm going to select all of these faces here, and all of these faces here. And then I'm going to go ahead and extrude those along their normal, about like that. I'll add in, say, 2 edge loops there, scale them along the x-axis. Let's see, I'll scale them. How sharp? That's fairly sharp. I'll go ahead and scale them 2, because then I will repeat this on this side. Okay, that starts to give me them, but I'll do it on this side as well. Slide those up. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing on the bottom. So I'll go in here. I'm going to select these faces. Make sure I've got the exact opposite ones, which I do. And I'll do the same thing right here. And then hit 3 to go to the side view. Hit E to extrude. Take it in about the same distance as the previous one. Now you can see that starts to look pretty good, but currently they're pretty square. So I'm going to hit Control-Tab, go to vertex mode, and while in front view, let's hit 8 on our number pad, which will rotate us in increments of 15 degrees up. So now I can just select, say, all of these, and I'll select them on both sides, and then I'll hit, and I did that in wireframe mode, so I was selecting the back side as well, and then I'll hit S, X, slide them in about like that, and then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And actually, you know, I ought to select all those. I'll hit SX and scale them out, and that will just ensure that those are a little bit more rounded right in there. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. I might go ahead and add in, say, an edge loop down like that to ensure that they're a little bit more square, and maybe an edge loop up about like that to square them up a little bit more. And there we go. That looks pretty good. So now I want to go ahead and create, I'm going to hit Alt-H in object mode. I want to go ahead and say select all of these vertices right here. I'll hit Shift S, cursor to selected to make sure it's centered. And then from the side view, I'm going to hit, let's look at this first. Yeah, let's first add in this tubing for both sides. So I'll hit Shift A, add in a cylinder. On the cylinder, I'm going to hit F6, or I guess I'll have to use the operator panel since I'm on OS. No, I can hit FN F6. There we go. FN F6. I'm going to take the vertex count down to 6. I'll take the radius down to say 0.01. And I'm going to align it to view, and I'm going to not cap the ends, so I leave it open. And then it actually looks almost perfectly sized, actually. Maybe it needs to be a little bit larger, so I'll go ahead, hit SX, scale it down, just somewhere right in there. I'm going to hit G, Z, X, slide it over, and I want to slide it right over to the inside of this, so we'll just go to right about there. I'll deselect this side, and this time I want to take it all the way over to the edge, so I'll hit G, X, snap to there, hit Control L to reselect the whole thing, and then I'm going to hit S and Shift X, scale it up, hit 3 to go to side view, and I just want to scale it up so it encompasses this, so S, Shift X again, scale it up about like that. Looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and select everything, W and shade smooth, and then I need to cut out a hole here in the center, so let's go over. And we're actually going to take this in right up to those vertices. And then I'm going to go in, I'm going to select all of these, and then hovering over the tube, I'm going to hit Shift L to deselect that. And let's go ahead and hit X and delete faces on that. And then I actually need to go in and fill those in such that it's not hollow. And so first, I will select this, fill that, then I can fill this. And then I might go ahead and let's see, I'm going to select, say, these edges. And I'm going to hit E to extrude, snap down to there, and again to there. Go back over here, select these, fill it, select everything, W, remove doubles. Then I want to go and add in another edge loop all the way across, right up to the bottom to ensure that stays nice and sharp. And while I'm at it, I might go ahead and let's select this. I'm going to hit H to hide it. And then just so that this is consistent all the way around, we're going to fill in these holes. So let's first add in an edge loop right up like this. I can hit G, double tap X, or double tap Z. Snap up to that vertex. And I can select these vertices, extrude down to there and there. Subdivide that, add in another loop through like that. And then I just need to do it over here. There we go. Select everything, remove doubles, and add in a loop right up like that, and a loop right up like that. There we go. Now that'll stay nice and solid. And I'll hit Alt-H. I'm going to select this. And I just want to go and hit E to extrude, right-click, scale it way down, something like that. I'll go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. You know, we just need just enough so you don't see the edge here. And then I'll add in 2 edge loops, scale them up along the x-axis right up to the ends. Make it nice and square. And then I'll go ahead and select this. I'm going to hit Shift-D, right-click, hit period, so I'm rotating around the cursor, which happens to be centered still, and I'll hit SX and -1 to flip that across. So there we go. Let's see. If we look at our other views, I feel like those maybe are still a little bit small. So we're going to go back over to Blender. Let's just select both of them. And then we're going to hit S and Shift X, just scale them up just a little bit more, make it a little thicker. Okay, and now let's just hit Alt H, kind of see how everything's looking. It's looking pretty good. Okay, one thing to remember, whenever we're ready to polish things up, we still need an end cap on this because apparently we forgot a part of that. But looking back at our reference here, You can see we still need the spring here in the center. We need this piece right here, which if we look over at our other references, I believe that would be basically the release pin to let it pop out. So we're just going to do this by on the outside. We'll select this, and we can see it's basically centered. So let's just go in here, and we're going to hit Control Tab, go into face mode, select this face, hit Shift D, right click, SX, take it down just a little bit, go and hit comma to scale towards individual center, G, Z or ZZ to pull in just a little, and then we're going to go and hit E to X to delete, and we're going to delete only faces, so it leaves our edge perimeter, and then we'll hit E to extrude, double tap, oops. Okay, Control Tab, go to vertex mode. Since I was technically in face mode, but I deleted the face, it still left me selected, or left me with the edges selected, but I wasn't able to manipulate them because it doesn't think there's a face selected. So I hit Control Tab, go back to vertex mode, and then I can hit E to extrude, double tap Z, pull it out along my normal, somewhere about like that. Then I'll hit E to extrude, right click, scale it down just, actually, you know, I'll just hit X, delete those vertices. Then I'll select this, hit F to fill in a face, add in 2, scale them up, add in 2, scale them up along the local X based on that same face transform that we set up. Select everything, W, and shade smooth. And that's maybe a little thick right now. So then we'll hit Control N. There we go. And it looks like we've got a rounded edge on this bottom. So let's go ahead and add in a loop right up to here. I'll add in another loop to right about there. I'm going to select this edge, hit Control E, edge slide, take that down, select this edge, deselect these vertices, hit Control E, edge slide, take that back, and that gives it a rounded edge like that to kind of smooth it up. And the whole thing's maybe a little thick right now, so let's go and hit S, double tap Z, scale it in about like that, and that looks pretty good. Okay, on the opposite side, we need this little thing. So what I'm going to do, hit Tab to go back in edit mode, set 3 to go to side, or actually, you know what, first, let's go in here. And again, in object mode, I'm going to isolate everything. And then selecting these two cylinders, let's hit Shift S, cursor to selection, make sure it's still centered. And then just so that we can see what we're working on, let's go and select this piece. We're going to hit H to hide it. We'll select this one as well, H to hide it. And then look at back to our piece. So this is kind of like a half circle with a pin that can come out. And we're not going to worry about little details in here because we can't really tell what they are. So we're going to make it fairly simple. I'm going to go ahead and set 3 or 1 to go to front view. And let's go ahead, and what I want to do is I'm going to select, say, this face right in here because I want to align my view such that I can set that half dome perfectly. So I'm going to select this face. I'm going to go to View, Align to View to Selected, and Top. There we go. Now it's aligned perfectly such I can hit Shift A, add in a circle, hit F6. I'm going to take the vertex count down to 8, take the size down to 0.1, and then I'm going to align it to view. And that way it's perfectly aligned. I can then just scale it down, maybe hit G, double tap Z, pull it out a little bit like this. Deselect these vertices, hit X, delete these, select these two, hit E to extrude, double tap Z, pull them up. And so, you know, in this piece, we can really tell how beneficial custom transforms are. And I also just noticed that this is a little wimpy, so I'm going to select that, add in a loop, maybe do the same thing here, just to kind of sharpen that up a little bit. There we go. Now I can go ahead and select this circle, and currently, that maybe looks a little bit large, so we're going to scale it down, move it in along the Z, move it up along the X to be positioned right about at the top, right about in there. There we go. We're going to go and hit E to extrude, pull it along the X, and it looks like it goes about a little over halfway, about like that. Then we can go ahead and select it, hit E to extrude, right click, S to scale it in, Move it in a little bit along the local Z, something like that. And then I just want to fill in these faces. To fill in this last one, I'll add an edge loop there, take this along the Z, fill that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of this, and I'm going to duplicate it across to the other side. So I'll just hit Shift D, hold down Control, snap to there, select everything, W, remove doubles. I then add in 2 edge loops, then hit S, double tap X, scale them up like that, select everything, W, and shade smooth. Hit Control N to fix those normals. And going back over to the preview, let's go ahead and just add in that little nub. So I'll select, say, these vertices, which are about center, hit Shift S, cursor to selection. I'm going to select these faces, and I'm going to once again view, align to view, view to selected, and top. Now you'll notice that I'm a little bit off kilter, but I'm still perfectly aligned, as you can see there. You know, if I select all these, you can see that they're just selecting in a line. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Shift A, add in a cube on this one, and then I want to go and hit F6, align to view, and then I can just scale this down about like that. I can rotate it in to fit approximately. Maybe if I just rotate this 15. Nope. Ah, yeah. I just rotated that around the X 15, and that basically fit. Maybe not quite, but close enough. I can move this, move it in along the Z a little bit. 3 to go back to side view. And looks to me like this is going to poke just a little bit above the edge. So let's take this along the X, about like that. We'll go ahead and select this, take it up a little bit. Let's go in here, select this face. We're going to move it down along, or actually, you know what, let's move it up a little bit, and then we're going to hit E to extrude along like that. Then we can hit X, delete that face, select this whole thing, hit W, and shade smooth. And that looks pretty good. Okay, there we go. So that gives us our release, all that good stuff. And now what we need to do is we're going to hit Alt-H, like that. And I want to add in the side rail that you can see right here, and then also the support here so we can put in the entire pin. We'll make the side rail by selecting this piece, hit 1 to go to front view. Oops, select this one. And I want to add in another edge loop here, about like that. And then I'm going to deselect these top vertices. And then I'm going to hit S, X, and 0 to straighten them up. And then I'll snap them up to there so that we have a straight edge. Then I'm going to select this. And I'm going to hit Control E, edge slide just a little bit, bring these over to be about the same size as this. And actually now, unfortunately, I need to go ahead and straighten these up again. S, X, and 0. Snap over to there. And then I'm going to go in here and select these edges. And I'm going to go ahead and hit E to extrude, take them down along the normals to about there. Then I'll do that again to about right there. It's not quite straight, so I'll move it over about there. Deselect that one, move it over, snap to there. And then what I want to do is scale them to 0 along the local X on each one of these. There we go. Remember, that's the same normal X that I've been using. Add that loop in right up like that. And then I want to go in here and grab these, move them along that Z, kind of round it out. Select this and these, move it out along that X, about like that. And then I could go ahead, I'm going to take these vertices, move them down along the local Z, snap to there, add in another loop, just about like that. Then I'll take these, actually, no, I'll take these ones, snap them up along the local Z, about like that, and just squares it off very nicely. Now, that may not be wholly accurate in terms of how it's actually supposed to be created. Okay, so yeah, that looks pretty good. Apologies for the quick interruption, had somebody at the door. But I think that will be pretty good for that, at least from, what I can kind of interpret from these images. Looks fairly close anyway. Maybe not exact, but I would say close enough for today. So then I want to go ahead and add in the tab on the other side, which this one, we filler similar. It's just going to be kind of a circle that comes out. So let's go over back to Blender. I'm just going to create this one from one of these. So let's select this, hit Alt-H to unhide everything, select this, Shift-D, move it out along the X. Let's go ahead and scale it up a bit like that. Hit E to extrude, take it out to right there. And then I'm going to select the whole thing, maybe hit S, Shift-X, scale it up just a little bit more. Hit 3 to go over to side view, and we hit G and X, or Y, excuse me. Pull this in about like so. Or actually, you know what? We're going to undo that last move. We're going to scale it back down, excluding the X-axis. And then we actually want to... Looks like it comes out past this, actually. So we'll bring this out to about here. And then we'll just take this end, slide it out to there. And then let's go ahead and select this loop right here. Hit E to extrude, scale it in, extrude in again. Then we'll select this, fill a face. And then I'm going to go ahead and select these loops. Hit X, delete the vertices. I'm going to select all of these. I'm going to hit Shift D, snap them over to there. Select everything, W, and remove doubles. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this loop here. Hit 3 to go to side view. Hit E to extrude, bring it in straight along the Y-axis to about right there, just such that it's intersecting everything. Select everything, W, and shade smooth, Control N, and there we go. Now I just need to add in a bar between all these, so I'm going to select this. I'm just going to go ahead and we're just going to select, say, this bar. Or actually, you know what? Let's grab, say, these two loops. Just like this. I'm going to Shift D, right click, hit S and X, scale them out until they go through appropriately. Say just a little bit on this side, a little further on that side. Move this over a little bit like that. And then we're going to hit S and Shift X, scale them down to about the right size. And then I'm going to deselect this side from wireframe mode, so I delete or deselect the entire thing. And then I can just hit E to extrude, snap to there, select everything, W, remove doubles, hit Control N, W, and shade smooth. Then I just need to go ahead and add in the end caps. I'll extrude this, scale it down, and then I want to just go ahead and fill in the faces. So I will select, say, these three, fill it, these ones, fill it, add in an edge loop. Or actually, you know what, rather than adding in just a single one, let's select this, hit Shift H, hide that, add in two edge loops. And then we can just scale them along the X-axis to fit, say, right about like that to make them nice and sharp. And there we go. If we look at our reference, that looks pretty good. Looks like this has a knob on the end such that it can't slide out. So let's go ahead and do that. And in fact, we actually need to go ahead and select, say, this whole piece. And we hit period to scale around the cursor, Shift D, right click, SX, -1, flip it across. And then we can go ahead and just slide that over to there, select everything, W, and remove doubles, Control N, and looks like I missed. Oh, there we go. I just hadn't fixed the normals yet. So then I'll go and add in another loop right up to there. If I can slide it over enough. There we go. And then another one. And then I'm just going to select, say, these ones. And then I'm going to hit E to extrude, S, Shift X after canceling the extrusion, and just slide that up. And then I can add in, say, 2 edge loops, scale those over, and there we go. Okay, and that looks pretty good. Looks like this side maybe has a cotter pin on it, or a ring of some kind. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select this loop, Shift D, move this back along the Y-axis to about right there before There we go. Extrude it out. And then I'll hit Control L, hit E to extrude, right click, S, Shift X, scale it out, select everything, W, and shade smooth, Control N, and there we go. Now for the spring here, I'm not actually going to, well, we will go ahead and model the spring. What we're going to do, let's select this, and I'm just going to select this piece. I'm going to hit Shift S, cursor to selection, be fairly close there. And then I'm going to go ahead and as a new mesh, or no, not as a new mesh actually. I'm going to go, yes, as a new mesh. I'm going to hit Shift A, add in a cube, hit Tab to go into edit mode, or hit X to delete this cube, hit Shift A, add in a plane, and hit X, delete only the faces, so then I can scale this down. And really, there was no need to add the cube, I just meant to add a plane instead, and since I'd already gone into edit mode, it was easier to delete the cube and then add in a plane. Now I want to just go ahead and say, rotate this, I want to rotate this 90 degrees like that, and then around the Z axis, 90 degrees like this. So then I'll scale it down, and then I'm just going to hit G, Z, pull it up right above the tubing here, about like that. And then I'm also going to go ahead, hit Tab, move this over about like so. I'm going to hit Shift Space, go over and add a modifier. In this case, I'm going to use screw, and I'm going to set the screw to the X-axis, about like that, I believe. Then I can set the screw to, looks like it's going to be 0.08 maybe? No, 0.008. Yeah, that looks about right. I can also add in a subsurf modifier to this. And then I will just take the iterations up a lot. And on this, I don't want so many steps. So let's just take this down to say maybe 6 steps. Should be about right. Same thing with the render steps. We'll take it down to 6. Let the subsurf modifier take care of some of that. If we toggle this off, you can see how many steps there are. There we go. Also calc the order to get rid of the normals there. And then let's just take the iterations up. Right about like that. And now we're not going to worry about the little tabs that actually hold this together, but this way it'll look fairly close. I need to scale this up a bit. Needs to be about that thickness. Pull this up. And now that looks pretty good. Maybe we'll scale this down a little bit actually. Pull it up, move it over, take this down to say 0.006. Yeah, that looks about right. Okay, and then I'll take the iterations up a few more times. Something about like that. And there we go. That gives us a real easy screw. We've got this plate finished. Now, real quick, just for the last part of this, is we need to go ahead and model in this basic piece right in here, which I want to go over, see if I can find a better view of that while it's open. And so just zooming in on my references here, see if we can find a little bit better one. And it looks like we're not going to. If we go back to our other references, we can view them here. Zoom this up. And nothing there. There we go. Oh, well, that's not going to work. Let's see. I guess none of these really show exactly what it looks like. So we're going to go back in here. And I think we've already got one pulled up. No, we still need to open it. There we go. Let's just zoom in here a little bit. Actually, this one shows it pretty well. So I have basically no idea how this effectively works on the inside, so we're not going to be doing too much detailing on it. But basically what I want to do is just create this pin that then has this cutout in here such that we can get the basic idea going. So let's first select this piece. We're going to hit Shift H to hide everything else. Hit Tab to go into edit mode. And then I just want to go over here. Or actually we're going to hit, let's grab, say this vertex. We're going to hit Shift S, cursor to selected, just to center that approximately. And, or actually, you know what? Instead, we ought to center this around the barrel here. So let's just select this, Shift A, cursor to selection. There we go. Actually, you know what? We're going to use part of this barrel. So I'm going to hit Shift D, right click, hit P to separate by selection. Then I can select that mesh. And I'm going to go and hit Control Alt Shift C, origin to geometry, just to center that. I can then move this along the x-axis here. And then what I want to do is hit Tab to go into edit mode. And we're just going to scale this up about like that. Looks like, this must be fairly large, or else I have no idea how the inner workings of this are, which is completely true. Let's see, let me zoom out here on a little bit. Okay, so that looks in right there. Okay. Find my mesh again. There it is. We're going to scale it up about like that. Then I'm going to hit E to extrude, take it over along the x-axis, somewhere in there. Let's go ahead and select this piece. Tab to go into edit mode. I'm going to select all of this, all of these pieces here, and I'm going to hit P, separate by selection, such that now I can just hide this and view just this in here. Okay, and then I also want to take this. I'm going to move it in closer along the z-axis there, somewhere, something like that. Okay. So then I can go in here, select everything, S, Shift X, to scale it up a bit more, something about like that. Should be about right. Select everything, shade smooth, and go in here. Just so we don't have a hole, we're going to move that in further along the z-axis there. Okay. And then I want to add in this groove in here. So selecting this again, let's go ahead and isolate this. And we're going to add the groove basically right in the center. So let's first just add in 2 loop cuts. Scale it up like that. And then the easiest way to do this is, rather than setting it at the correct angle initially, I'm going to go ahead and model the groove by just selecting, say, these faces right here. And I'll hit X and delete those faces. And then we can reposition the groove later on. So first I'll just scale these up, something like this. We've got this kind of side cut in here. So then I'm going to select all of this, hit E to extrude, scale it down just a little bit, about like that. And then I'm going to select these, hit F to fill a face. Same thing with these, and right there. And then I'll add in, say, 2 loop cuts, scale them up along there. And that basically does it just like that. Although right now, maybe we need to move this over a bit more. Now hit Alt-H, unhide that. Maybe I'll go ahead and I want to bring this whole thing in a bit more. So I'll hit E to extrude, right click, scale it down, maybe scale it down further along the Z-axis, about like that, to make it a little bit sharper. And I'll maybe go ahead and bring these sides over a bit more, about like that. Okay. Actually, these ones, I will scale back a little bit, just make it a little bit more rounded. There we go. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now what I can do is hit 3 to go to side view, select it all, and hit Shift C to recenter the, or from object mode, hit Shift S, cursor to selected, recenter there. And then I'll hit 3 to go to side view. I'm going to hit R and X to rotate around the X-axis, negative 30 degrees, rotate X, negative 30, I think will be about right. So now if I hide this, we should see that right in there. And maybe I need to rotate this another negative 15 maybe. So 45 degrees. Yeah, there we go. That looks about right. Okay, so now I will hit Alt-H, unhide that. And I realized that there would need to be a little bit more work done in order to actually animate this shooting correctly, since, this slides back and forth. I do know that much. But since I don't know exactly how that's formed, I'm not going to be able to do just that, although I can see that maybe there's an edge on here. So let's maybe go in, select this, pull it over just a little bit, hit E to extrude, take it in a little bit, select it, pull it in, and then maybe extrude along through there. It's about as best as I can tell from that reference. So, since I don't know exactly how that all works, I'm not going to do any more, or else, I'll probably just set you up for trouble. Those of you that do want to animate it but aren't necessarily modeling it, I'm just going to set you up for trouble. And so if you're interested in actually animating this shooting, then I encourage you to look in to see exactly how this is created, find some animations of it online. I know that there are some blueprints that show how this works, but due to licensing restrictions, we can't include them with our source files and such, which is why I didn't use them. But, definitely check it out on your own time, and you can reference them even if they're in a commercial product. We're just not able to redistribute them. So that's the main issue. So that's going to be it for today. We've still got a little bit more work to do. We've got to do a little bit over here on this side. We've got a few details right in here to do, but we're getting really close to being done. I think in the next video, we'll be able to actually finish this thing off and call it quits. We may then come back with some extra videos to model a site or things like that, but we may not keep that to the exclusive. We'll see. But for the time being, hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll catch you next time.